When there is nothing that works for Ubisoft, its safest bet is to do remakes or remasters. And today we have Black Flag Resynced, but we also will receive Rayman Legends Retold, which is yet another remake of the not that old of a game, and AC1 remake, which is supposedly rumored to be in development. So Ubisoft has this problem that they cannot genuinely create something that would actually knock it out of the park recently, so they decided to double and triple down on the remakes and remasters, because we also got few remasters along the way. And even with major improvements that were added to Black Flag Resynced, it's still more of a demake than anything else. On the surface, it looks like a massive improvement, but when you actually remember how the old game looked and you will try to replay it today, you will find out that that's not really the improvement that we were looking for. It's still a decent title, however, like I said, it's more of a demake. So Assassin's Creed Black Flag did release in 2013 for PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and also for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It functioned pretty well, I would say. The graphics today look kinda dated. Well, the game is the product of its time, and let's be honest, it's going to be getting old. Like 2D games can get old and still look magnificent. The 3D games kind of have this like attached to them that they don't really get old that well. So back in the day, and I genuinely feel like a grandpa when I'm saying this, back in the day the original Black Flag for us looked like remake looks today. We remembered this game, that it looked like the remake looks right now, and that's clearly something that is not true. It's just nostalgia messing up your memories. So AC4 did actually have a lot of cool things which were completely cut out from this remake. They called it Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. They skipped the 4 in the title, clever, and they called it Resynced. It not only displays well in the game's lore because it's animus and also synchronization and stuff, but also it's not going to be picked on like Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is not a remake at all, but Resynced is a remake, okay? We have to say that it is a remake, but also at the same time it's canon to the same like storyline overarching of all the Assassin's Creed games. Yes, both Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag, the OG and remakes are canon. And like I said, AC4 Resynced is a remake, alright? It adds some good stuff to the game, it adds some questionable quality stuff also, it has plenty of improvements if it comes to the quality of life features, and completely throws away some parts that gamers liked. So for starters, this game is made on Ubisoft's Anvil engine, which is important to mention because I've seen people claim that this is Unreal Engine game, and it's completely not true. Maybe the graphics look so good and they look really closely if it comes to like the quality and art style to most games that were created using Unreal Engine 5, but I mean, let's be honest, Unreal Engine 5 may be a shitty engine, but it still looks good, and this game is not. It's not an Unreal Engine, it's actual Anvil engine made by Ubisoft, and the game works well on PlayStation 5 when I personally played it. There are no frame drops. I also didn't notice any resolution drops. For some games on PlayStation 5 this tends to happen a lot, for some less. Best example of this happening notoriously would be Final Fantasy 16. Nothing like that, for an example, happened in here, and this remake was also made by Ubisoft Singapore, which is important to mention. Why? Because those are the same people that brought us Skull and Bones, baby. And for some reason, in here, they managed to do what they couldn't do for their quadruple A video game that they were developing for so many years. And here they actually did a good job. Sailing doesn't have stamina. Yeah, like ships don't have stamina. Who would have thought? Ship combat is great. Water looks beautiful, and yeah, like something that Skull and Bones didn't have, and all you had to do was replicate what Assassin's Creed 4 did in 2013. They also added some quality of life improvements, like I mentioned. You can crouch and sneak. Yes, something that was completely missing in the original Assassin's Creed 4. That may be a shock for somebody, but ultimately, yes. Games about assassins who work in the shadows didn't have crouch button until Assassin's Creed Unity, which was debatably, but still probably one of the worst additions to the franchise. This was the first game that introduced crouching, which was 8th mainline video game in the franchise. So yeah, this is how long we have had no crouching button. So Resynced also added something that was definitely missing from AC4, and you could feel it: diving. The game about pirates sailing didn't have something that just would allow you to dive when you jump into the water, and this game adds that. And it's, for an example, we had diving sequences in the original Black Flag, and those sequences are also here. Diving with a diving bell. When you try to explore some shipwreck, you have to unlock the diving bell. They drop you with the bell, and you can explore the underwater sequences. That was only locked to this. You couldn't just in a free roam on your own, just dive under the water and stuff. In here, it's added what goes with it. Some chests are added under the water in certain locations that you can actually go in and pick up. You have caves in the game that were also present in the OG game. Right now, you can just dive in and find the entrance underwater to those caves. Back in the day, you would have to jump in with the diving bell, because there was no other way to do this. So they actually applied it like you have to jump into the water with the diving bell, and then you can go and explore the caves. So the game actually flows a little bit better now. Not everything is just locked to this, and the entire environment of underwater in different locations is completely new, right? Overall movement is also faster in this one than in the original game, and what's not an improvement but straight up a remake is what was cut out from the game. So, and no, I actually don't mean the boring Abstergo sequences that you walk away slowly in a first-person perspective view and hack Abstergo's computers, although there was some modern world lore about Templars and Assassins that I personally really liked from these sequences, and now that's completely gone. But at least you are not getting interrupted mid-game when you're trying to play a fun pirate game and you're getting pulled out to the boring corporation and being asked to hack PCs at a really slow pace. But one thing that is completely missing in this moment is a crossover applying to Sage. So I know it's a spoiler, so I still give you a warning, but the game was out for 13 years and this scene is not really present in the, like, most of what I'm gonna be mentioning right now is not present in the remake, because that's what I'm mentioning, like it was cut out. So I still give you a warning. So cutting out Abstergo sequences does remove completely the Sage presentation, because after killing Roberts in the original Assassin's Creed Black Flag, then when you are finishing the game, you get kicked out of the Animus, and Roberts appears in the modern world attacking the player, which is a great plot twist that I never saw coming back in the day, and it showcases that in fact with, like, Sage is someone who keeps getting reborn throughout time and keeps all of his memories, right? So then you witness it. You're not only hearing him mentioning that he keeps all the memories, you know that he remembers Edward and he remembers you also, your involvement, because this entire plot point is connected to Juno, and Roberts wanted to use player's body as a vessel for Juno, so Juno may be reborn because he's in love with Juno. And Resynced completely cuts this thing out of the game because they got rid of the modern story, which is a real shame because that was actually kinda interconnected, something that cross over the modern plot point with the Assassin's Creed that happens in the Animus. Also, outside of that, they completely cut out picking up enemy weapons, which if you killed an enemy in the original Black Flag, you could have picked up the sword or the rifle and use it. Now you cannot do it. There's no ability to do it. And they also got rid of the hidden blade combat, and it's completely like removed too. And a lot of people are going to be like, well, it's a non-compliant because like you can just be using normal swords, like why would you fight with the hidden blades? But however, like it was cool to fight with hidden blades. You didn't need a sword. You could have just used your hidden blades, and they had like separate animations for kills. And hidden blades in this one are relegated only to doing the assassinations from the shadows, basically, and that's basically all. And some kind of finishes when you like parry the attack, and then you can like see the animation when he's actually assassinating people with the hidden blades. But back then you actually could have just play throughout the entire game using just hidden blades, and you would be able to even parry and bounce back the attacks just with your hidden blades, which it was awesome. And yeah, other games also removed the combat with the hidden blade post like Black Flag and Rogue, but it's still missing. It's still missing. It was cool, and I would like it to see it return, but this game kinda leans more into the RPG type of game that is not really an RPG game, like mixing both genres of the old Assassin's Creed and the new Assassin's Creed type of game. And you also cannot freely change to hand combat. You would have to go into the menu and inventory and unequip your gear to be in the hand-to-hand combat, and you can't do it like normally. And in the OG game, you would just press a button using a D-pad, and you would switch to fists, and you would be killing people with your bare fists. And that was something that you could have just done on a fly. And here, there's no option like that. Something like also tripping people when you are running through the streets. Like you would be stumbling into people, and NPC would be tripping and falling to the ground, and maybe you would fall to the ground. That's completely stripped. That's completely dumbed down. It's non-existent. And yeah, it's kind of just weird, but yeah, they decided to completely cut it out. I mean, less work, I guess. And the OG also had something when you were returning to the ship from the water or whatever. The crew would be cheering. They would be happy. Hey, Captain's back. In here, you come back to the ship. It is silent. Everyone is silent. Nobody is cheering except for your quartermaster saying, "Captain's back on board." That's it. And it's just empty, and it's sad. I liked the fact that they were cheering. It actually meant you were the captain, right? Like they are happy that the captain is back on the ship. In here, it's just silent, it's just lifeless. And also, GPS in the corner is gone. And yes, I know. We have a compass on the top, which is more in line with the modern RPG Assassin's Creed games. But GPS in the corner also had something that this game doesn't have at all in this moment. Wind indicator. So you had an arrow that would present to you the direction of the wind, which way you are going to be sailing faster, which way you are going to be sailing slower. But if the wind goes against you in the OG, you actually see that your ship is sailing slower. And in here, there is nothing of that, because the only option to know which way the wind is going is your quartermaster being like, "We have the wind behind us," or "We're sailing up, like we're facing the wind," or something like that. The problem is that very often they would be completely wrong, because Adewale or Bonnie would be screaming, "We're sailing with the wind is behind us." And I'm looking at my sails, and I'm like, "No, it's not. We are genuinely facing the wind." But nobody cares. Why? Because your ship never changes the speed. I never felt like I'm sailing slower or faster because of the direction of the wind. Nothing. There's always the same pace. In the OG Black Flag, it was noticeable that if you go against the wind, your ship would be slowing down by a noticeable amount. In here, nah, just sailing fast no problem. And it's kind of like, it's worse because of that. It's less realistic, and I know we are talking about an Assassin's Creed game, but it's worse because of that. So I would like to have something like that included. Also the GPS on the top. When someone is going to, for an example, notice you or something, the GPS tends to disappear and you just have to wait to see anything on top of your screen, which is really annoying. And also sometimes you have these like random winds that would like sweep from the left, sweep from the right. Sometimes in a matter of like span of 10 seconds would be like sweep from the left, sweep from the right. Makes no sense, completely random. Sometimes it would be like sweeping so hard it would turn your ship 180. It's really annoying. It's unrealistic, sure, but it's really annoying, and I don't know why they went with that. I don't remember this being this egregious in the original game, and it's just ridiculous, stupid, and annoying. It makes no sense. The animation of walking in the water is also changed because it looked more realistic back in the day in the OG Assassin's Creed Black Flag that released in 2013. But downgrade comes in this game, and I mean, if it comes to the walking in the water, like Ubisoft tends to downgrade this like animation every single game they release, because like Watch Dogs Legion was probably the worst offender if it comes to that. They also changed minor like locations a bit, like adding a zip line so you can return faster to the docks, or some shelves are rearranged so you can climb like a little bit maybe faster or something. So that's something that happened. Aforementioned chests in the water and the entire underwater environment is completely new, so that they also had to account for that. But they also did change tailing missions, where you'd tail someone for 5 minutes, for an example, listening to the conversation to get the information that you need to get. And right now you can just get notice or straight up run to them, kill them, and everyone is going to have a letter, for an example, which lists every single fucking thing that you need to know. And for some people it's going to be a plus, because majority of like people don't really like the tailing missions. But I don't think the way they approached it is good, because like you genuinely just have an idiot-proof game that if someone is going to notice you because you can't like keep out of sight, there's no desynchronization. You just cannot fail unless they kill you. You just pick up a letter and you still progress with the mission. Everyone has a letter on them. It's kind of something that I genuinely think it's worse because of that, because like it strips the still some kind of a challenge to keep up or hide in the crowd, which is something that Assassin's Creed is known for, hiding in the crowd and listening to the conversations and following people. Gone completely, because you can just assassinate everyone and steal the letter. I mean, yeah, I personally don't like this change, but I am able to be like, okay, like most people probably are going to treat this as a plus. I personally don't. However, they did keep the story intact. Mostly they added like stuff that is side content and is something that is completely optional, but a mainline story and most of the side quests and stuff, like those are like the same scenes line for line. They re-recorded dialogues. I don't know why would you re-record the dialogues, but like 99% of the cutscenes in the main story is the same. And that 1% of the story, the changes are fucking weird a little bit, because like 1 is really good. So there is this moment when they changed from OG to Resynced that actually like improves something. Charles Vane confrontation on a deserted island is something that I personally had a problem with, because like Charles goes mad and Edward has to take him out. So in the original game you sneak on top of him behind and assassinate him with a hidden blade. That would lead to the conversation in these animus thingy, like the memory corridor or something, and that always appears when you assassinated the target as a like post-mortem conversation type of thing. Well, the problem is that in the original game it makes no sense, because Edward never killed Charles Vane. He left him alive on the island by himself, and he was picked up by the British, and later you can actually find him when he completely lost his mind sitting in the Jamaican prison. So why would you have this type of conversation in the OG when he was not assassinated? He was just left alive Why was I able to assassinate him with a hidden blade? Makes no sense. So in here, you can't just sneak behind him and assassinate him. You actually fight him as a proper boss fight, and it ends on Edward beating Vane and leaving him without Animus background, without any of these shenanigans. He never used a hidden blade, he never assassinated him, he never killed him. He left him beaten on an island and went away. And this makes sense that he didn't kill him, okay? So that is an improvement. However, all the targets, for an example, that you could have just assassinated in the OG Black Flag, in here you are forced to play as a full boss fight sequences. And it's like an option, for an example, sometimes to assassinate, and if you fail, it turns into the boss fight with a huge health bar. Fine, I guess. In the OG Black Flag, you could have just parry someone like Roberts and you would end him in 2 fucking hits. In here, you have a full-blown boss fight. They also added one Caroline scene, which doesn't really bring much to the table, but it's still fine, I guess. And one more thing that was changed from Assassin's Creed 4 to Resynced that makes absolutely no sense is probably the most noticeable one, is like Anne Bonny going with you to assassinate Torres in Havana at the end of the game, and she's the one who is leading you to the meeting spot with the assassin lady, and is a part of the conversation, which makes no sense because she's not an assassin. The game even makes a mention that be careful with this one, she's not one of us. Later, she climbs the church with you and says that she can't let Edward have all the fun killing Torres, despite earlier basically asking him why all of you care about killing him so badly. And then she says, I can't let you have all the fun. It doesn't add up, it makes no sense. Her presence in these places is just added for no reason. It is stupid, and I like Anne Bonny in Assassin's Creed 4 and in Resynced, and I would like to have her, like, give her more time to shine, because she is kind of underused, right? Anne Bonny was an actual pirate. She wasn't just someone who was serving drinks for the 90% of her life in Nassau or Great Inagua. But the addition in Resync makes no sense. It's out of place, and overall the main plot changes are just few and in between, barely noticeable. Especially if you haven't like played Assassin's Creed 4 for a long time, you're not going to like notice those like minor tweaks, right? The stuff that was added is the side ship. So you can recruit officers and you have storyline attached to every single one of them, and then they are fully on board. So 3 officers: Lucy Baldwin, the shipwright, the Padre, Master at Arms, and Tobias, called Dead Man, who unlocks like mortars keys from weapons, right? All of these missions are kind of fucking whack. So they are not bad per se, but they just pale in comparison to other missions that you played just slightly before you started playing the side stuff. The cutscenes for those added missions lack any life. They seem sometimes like a bad theater play in comparison to other cutscenes. Lucy's missions are kinda the most interesting in my opinion, and I wanted to see where this was going. Padre missions are just meh, and the character itself doesn't really fit the game. The rest of the game look completely different than this one character looks. Deadman, listen, the storyline starts slow and is really uninteresting, and then kind of starts picking up, and it gets a little bit more interesting, and then completely drops the ball at the end. And I was like, what? I raised my arms, I yelled at the screen like, are you serious? Like, just to say with no spoilers, there's no ending, there's no conclusion. The game just blue balls you. There is nothing basically, and it felt kind of like a One Piece filler episode. So I mean, it's just subpar in my opinion. It's still fun to have it, but like I wouldn't say that it's like worth picking it up if you want to play additional missions. So from added content, we also have your manor at Great Inagua, and it was also in the OG game, but in here you have actually more to do and more activities around, so it is changed slightly. or even a lot in some portions. You have places where you have to like collect treasures from chests and from like maps, and you display them on these shelves. You have an option to place some furniture that you found. For an example, cock chair that I placed specifically in the bedroom next to the bed, and those sorts of things, right? So you have also like a shelf when you can place all the ships that you fought and defeated, and those include the legendary ships, right? Which are ultimately hard in this game for some reason, especially El Impolito. Like, that ship is just too fucking much. So, I mean, yeah, so like you have this side of things. You have places where you can display your swords, you have places where you can display your pistols, and you have to fill every single one of those to get an achievement for it. So I did it all because I was platinuming the game, but you also have a character that lives in this manor. He was a servant to the previous owner, a lady that was living in this house, and he wants you to help him restore this manor, right? So when you are going to like restore everything, like build it up, fix it up, and then place some treasures around, he's going to have a conversation with you where he thanks you and he gives you a special like items for the mission completion. And like the conversation with him is really nice, and like probably like one of the most believable characters that was added in this remake. And I actually liked the guy. He was one of my favorite new character in the game. In the manor's basement, you also have places for portraits of pirates and enemies, and you have to like put the pirate portraits up there, like Blackbeard and Steed Bonnet and stuff. And you have missions where you have to go on a mission and find the portrait, or find the portrait scattered around the map. And for an example, you have finding Blackbeard's treasure to find his portrait. You also have like Steed Bonnet's portrait mission, which is really nice. I really liked the addition of this Steed Bonnet mission. However, unfortunately, it includes like this terrible song at the end. I wanted to rip my ears out. And on top of that, I had a music on top of music, so it sounded even worse than it should have.
The watch fast burning, for the day it'd sail again.
But the mission was really good. It was a really good mission, and if you are going to decide to play it, I genuinely encourage you to play the Steed Bonnet side mission at the end of the game. And they also added this dude, but to be completely honest, he's not new, because he was like mentioned in the original game. He's dressed like a clown, in my opinion, but fine, whatever. He doesn't really fit the tone of the game, in my opinion. However, he was mentioned in the papers in the original game, and in here he's actually present. They added him to the game, and he's giving you additional missions that you can complete, or just don't bother with them. That's up to you. They are not even required for like something that you need for like platinum or something, if you just care about that. Just another set of additional like errands. That's it. Another thing that was added are the rifts, which you don't have the Abstergo walking sections, but Edward can find rifts in the world of the game, and you have Ego character, which is this AI, and she's talking to you. She's presenting you what would happen if scenarios for the characters that died in the game, and she's presenting you what would happen if Blackbeard wasn't a pirate, what would happen if this person wouldn't be an assassin, right? And you just go through these missions in the gray, and she's trying to convince you to renounce the creed and not be an assassin. And there is occasional like the voice, don't listen to my mouth, if she's lying to you. And I really did kind of find it interesting, but at the same time boring. Like some missions were fine, some not. There are like 4 rifts that you have to find. You have a boss fight at the end, and the inclusion of these rifts amplifies the fact that both Assassin's Creed 4 and the Assassin's Creed 4 Resynced are both canon at the same time, because it's genuinely just is still continuation of the plot from the like overarching plot of the Assassin's Creed. However, it's genuinely like resynced, right? It's not a remake, it's a resynced. And also, something that is back in this game is Kenway's Fleet, which you have like options to send ships for emissions. It never was my kind of thing. Like, most people probably also like used it once or twice and forgot about its existence because it's simply monotonous and tedious. But you can get some resources from it, and you have to do it plenty of times if you want to make the game for 100% or at least the platinum. So if you want to the platinum the game, 17 treasures you need to be found, and if you want to 100% the game, you have to find 19 treasures. So speaking of 100% completion, I could not complete the game for 100% even if I wanted to on my save file. Why? Because the game bugged. So if not for the free pistol that I got through Ubisoft Connect, I genuinely wouldn't be able to even finish the platinum, not only 100%. Why? Because there are maps that you have to restore from, you collect map pieces, you take like 10 pieces of yellowed map and you get to the guy to fix it, or 2 pieces of digested map and you fix the map and it leads you to the treasure, right? There is a map to find a legendary sword and legendary pistol when you fix the weathered map. So that has like 6 pieces. So 5 pieces should be found in caves, and you complete the caves, you open the chest, the main chest in the caves, and you should get the piece of the map. Well, the 6th piece is purchased from a treasure dealer. So I finished all 5 caves to have a 100% completion of those caves, and I had only 4 pieces. The game bugged out the cave, the chest didn't give me 1 piece, and I can't reset, I couldn't reload the save anymore. And yeah, I can buy the 5th one from the treasure dealer, but what's the point? I still don't have the last piece. There is no way for me to actually complete the map because the game bugged out and didn't allow me to basically proceed with it. And yeah, like if it comes to bugs in this game, holy, I had never seen this many bugs in a video game as in this one. And not only Assassin's Creed 4 OG, I have played all of the Assassin's Creed games. Plus, because all the main ones, the DS one, the PSP one, Chronicles, I played Vita one, I played most of those. Even the one that is no longer playable on Android, Identity. And I never seen this amount of bugs in the Assassin's Creed game. Not a single one, not even the ones that like kinda are like the AC4 remake is based upon, like Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, Shadows. Not even in these ones. This entire game like is a buggy mess, and it like needed 6 more months at least in the development to like be polished and fixed. During my sessions with this game, I fell under the deck of a man of war and had to reload the checkpoint because I couldn't leave. I had an enemy standing and getting triggered the whole time when capturing the fort. I had 2 assassins on Great Inagua roller skating merged together as Siamese twins. During the Steed Bonnet mission, which is the mission that was added by these devs, that's not something they remade, that's something new they added. I had my friendlies triggering themselves on a yellow signs above their head, and I couldn't finish the mission. I had to genuinely again reload the checkpoint because they were getting hostile towards me, but they couldn't attack me because they were friendlies. When opening the crates, when crouching, few times I got sucked into the crate and I had to wait till the game spits me out. Of course, I couldn't miss out on Ubisoft special of assassinating a soldier and then the soldier standing up and having to assassinate him again, finding the burning ship that would explode when I was already on my own ship and was already sailing away from it, and it would kill me despite of last 20 times this not happening because on my own ship I should be safe, but this time no. I had a really hard time getting away from this ship. Shooting an enemy when boarding with the swivel guns, and they would stand for like 2-3 seconds post-shot explosion, and they would genuinely die with a delay. After some time, I had instances of my character just getting locked and just not being able to move at all. So like for an example, with pistol whipped out, or standing in the middle of the run like a statue and I couldn't even move an inch, having an NPC grip to the same swivel gun that I was using, and I would just be standing in the middle of the NPC. Edward would roller skate after leaving the hay wagon. I would be hiding in a hay 2 blocks away, and the guards would be detecting me for some reason, and the marker would be switching all of a sudden from yellow to red, and it would kick me out of my hideout, except none of the enemies is around me. Even they are like 2 blocks away, but I would be kicked out because they supposedly see me for this like split second. It would bug out and it would say that the enemy knows where I am. A jaguar would actually lock in attack animation in the middle of the fight. When I was fighting thieves, he would just run into the middle of the fight and would just lock in like this. I had a mission when the event popped out on my map that would give me a treasure, but I already had a treasure from this mission for some reason. So when arriving at the place when the marker was, the marker would just disappear. And in here, I died and the cutscene loaded, and I died mid-cutscene. That is something great. And whatever the fuck was this, don't even know how to describe it. What is happening? Explain to me, because I still don't know, and I watched this clip a few times and I still don't get it. So I also would like to say that there's an achievement for interacting with 7 friendly animals, but when doing it, I would interact with 7 animals and it would not pop. Turns out there's 8 animals, and either they don't count one or you have to interact with 8, but the achievement says interact with 7. There is a dog, cat, parrot, chicken, pig, cow, monkey, and turtle. Unless the game is dumb and it counts like chicken and parrot as the same type of animal because they both technically birds, there's no explanation for how fucking stupid this is. Oh yeah, and yes, you also can have a pet, by the way, and look at this monkey. Holy shit. It's so cute. It's actually a 10 out of 10. It's 10 out of 10. But back to being serious. One more thing worth mentioning is battle passes from Ubisoft in a single-player video game. So you collect points from challenges or limited time events, and they pop out like few in between and destroy the ship because it's like a bug from Animus or something. And you unlock tiers in the battle pass. You get free pistol, suit, ship customization, sails, RAM, whatever. You also can get keys on the map and exchange them in the key shop from these battle passes and stuff. And you can, for an example, unlock the Naue sword from Shadows into the Resynced, and yeah, it's cool. It's a cool sword. I used it. It's fine. I had fun. You also can like just not spend any keys on the Resynced and just collect keys on Resynced and buy something for Shadows. The same points are collected on your account from Black Flag and Shadows, and probably will also be from Hexay. So I mean, people hate World's Battle Pass, but you don't pay for it. It's just free. So it just like they added some collectibles on the map that allow you to unlock some skins, and you don't pay anything for it. So I don't know why the outrage about it. Some people were complaining about it back in the Shadows. They were also complaining about it in here, and they will still complain about it in Hexay. The battle passes that Ubisoft has for Assassin's Creed are free and are just in-game thing that you unlock something for in-game actions. So I don't see the problem in here. What you do pay for are skin packs for $9.99. All the DLCs being day one available, and all of the DLCs being like $85 at launch. And it's kind of ridiculous if you look at it, but those skins are kind of like, I don't really mind skins being just like a purchasable thing, especially when those are not just skins that were taken out of the game. Those are like flaming dragon skin or flying serpent. I'm like, those would actually take me out of the game. Even if they were in the game, I wouldn't use them. So I'm like, if someone wants to buy it, buy it. I don't feel like they fit the game at all. They would mess up with the tone of the story for me. And it's not like they took out some storylines from the game that was finished and they sold you these missions as DLCs. And yes, I'm thinking about Assassin's Creed 2 and LA Noire, which, yes, Rockstar also did it back in the day. They cut out plenty of missions, and Assassin's Creed 2 cut out 2 sequences, like 12 and 13 sequence is just cut out and sold to you on consoles as DLC, which was included for some weird reason on a PC side of things later. So I'm like, it's weird. So was this remake necessary? Not really. It does add some quality of life improvements to the game. However, at the cost of cutting so much stuff out of the game that made this game unique. Graphics are nice, sure, but it looks good. It looks really good. But at the same time, maybe I'm sounding like an unk right now, but I do prefer original graphics from Assassin's Creed 4. Those graphics feel like... The graphics in Resynced feel like they lack soul. Like, an art direction is just mediocre, and the graphics look good visually, but there's something missing. And I booted up Assassin's Creed Valhalla shortly after finishing with Assassin's Creed Resynced, and despite technically Assassin's Creed Resynced being like much more realistic in terms of graphics, and they technically look better, Assassin's Creed Resynced having like a more realistic graphics, Assassin's Creed Valhalla just looks better. Say what you want about the game itself, but it did have better art direction. Whereas Resynced looks like an Unreal Engine game, hence that's why probably so many people think this is an Unreal Engine game when it's even not. It just looks like 100 other games to me, and every Assassin's Creed before had its own style. It had interesting like art direction. Even Shadows had its own style. Like you may hate the game for an example, like a lot of people do, but like it had better art direction and it had its own style, and this game doesn't really have that. None of what I said negates the fact that the game still looks good, but it just doesn't have the style like all of the other Assassin's Creed games if it comes to graphics, and that's my complaints. Like, I know with all my complaints about bugs and everything in between, I did have fun still, but I don't think this game tops the OG version. It sacrificed way too much for too little improvement, and at the end, I thought I'm going to mention this. My PlayStation 5 controller has a stick drift. It was occasionally screwing up the camera or moving a character when running straight forward, and it was fixed later. So it's... In this game, it was happening constantly. My camera would be just going up and up and up and up, to the point when I genuinely bought a new controller. So, controller arrived after I was done with the game, lucky me. So, I took apart the old controller, and it is completely clean inside. So, the stick drift was actually happening because the controller had, like, one thing snapped in the right analog stick. But I tested this controller after putting it back together. I tested it on Valhalla, on Shadows, on Black Flag, OG, on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It works completely fine. Occasionally there is going to be some like 180 spin of the character when you're running too fast and your stick you let go of the stick and it just kind of bounces back. So your character is going to turn 180. And the calibration still shows the same error margin. I'm like, for some reason, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced amplified the stick drift problem to some ridiculous proportions. Even setting up the game, like in-game settings for Dead Zone on the analog stick didn't help much. It was constantly drifting up. The camera would be constantly drifting up, and sometimes my character would be moving to the side. Doesn't happen in other games. But the controller is still fucked. It definitely is weird. That's why I'm mentioning it. Because if you end up playing this game on like PlayStation 5 or maybe even using a controller just on PC and your camera misbehaves or something, your controller is probably still fucked, but the game definitely does amplify the problem. It makes it worse for some reason, and I don't know why this is happening, but it is happening, is worth mentioning. So that is the conclusion of my Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced video. Was it necessary to make this game? Nah. Is it fine? Yeah, it's fine. But I genuinely I genuinely prefer the OG Assassin's Creed, and in my opinion, this remake is more of a demake in some instances. So if you still want, I recommend just picking up the OG Assassin's Creed if you haven't played it yet. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the original one, is still going to be something that is going to be better experience than this one in my opinion. That is all. Bye for now.